When we look at some of the most exciting and influential companies today, United Wholesale Mortgage is always in the mix. With an exciting campus not far from our own here at Walsh College and UWM's desire to hire the best, it's no wonder that our alumni representation is so strong in their organization. So this begs the question, how do you get involved? So today I'm sitting here with Alex Elezaj, not only a Walsh alum, but also the Chief Strategy Officer and sits on the Board of Directors at UWM. And we're going to talk a little bit about your background, how you got to where you are today. And then also we're going to talk about what is the hiring practices happening at UWM, what's happening there for not only new graduates, but maybe also out in the public and kind of how people can get involved. So to kick it off, I'm going to have you introduce yourself, a little bit about who you are, your title, and what you do.
Great. Thanks, Jay. Appreciate you having me here. Thanks, Eric. It's great to build a relationship with you guys. And so again, my name is Alex Elezaj. I run corporate strategy and capital markets as the Chief Strategy Officer at UWM and on the Board of Directors. Been with the company for about 6 years now. And as you guys have seen, we've built a great business, over time. And UWM has been around for almost 40 years, believe it or not. Wow. And obviously, we've grown quite a bit over the last, 10 years or so. But it's great because it's a local company here, about 7,000 people here in Pontiac, Michigan, and we don't have a single person that works outside of Pontiac, right? So everybody's here. It has a lot of local impact, which is why we love to hire a lot of great people from Walsh.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And and it's funny, a lot of people don't think about UWM having been around that long. Yeah. So for 40 years, but in the last 10, the name has grown substantially. Can you talk a little bit about how that came to be?
Yeah, well, I think most people need to understand, especially everybody watching this, there's only two ways to get a mortgage in America. It's either direct, the companies who work direct to consumer, which are like banks, or it's wholesale, which are independent companies, right? It's Jay's Mortgage Company in Ann Arbor or wherever the case is. And there's over 12,000 of these independent businesses throughout the country. And they're, again, small and mom and pop shops. They're 2-people companies, 5-people companies, maybe even 50 people at the company. Well, they need a lender on the back end that can, satisfy their requirements. So that's where UWM comes in. So we don't do any work direct to consumer. Mm-hmm. Nobody can get a loan directly from us. Frankly, even all of our team members, we call them team members, we don't call them employees, but all of our team members at our company can't even get a loan from UWM. We only work through independent brokers, because that's the best place that we believe is for a consumer to get a loan. It's lower cost, it's faster, it's easier. That's really how we built our business. So after the financial crisis, what we realized is that there was a really big need for all of these independents to have basically like that back office, that arm of, hey, not only do I have a great lending partner, but I have somebody who's going to help me with all my technology, all my marketing, all the services that I need to provide, because I'm just a small little business here. Mm-hmm. I need to be a lot, look a lot bigger than I am with all those requirements. So that's really where UWM went all in on wholesale. Right. So, originally it was like a retail type business. But then we made that transition in really 2013, where we were like, hey, we're going to go all in on wholesale. That's all we're going to do, and really be that back end lender to all of these independent businesses that are throughout the country.
Well, and it's such a big thing to do, because you a little bit move away from the transactional side and more into that relationship building piece of it, which is a huge thing for a company the size of UWM, because the relationship is such a key factor in not only those day-to-day interactions, but the long game. You're dealing with brokers who need to understand what that relationship is. And to your point, you're taking some of the things off of their plate that they don't have time for. They got to go out and do the sales. So they don't have time to go do their own marketing and those kind of things. And so UWM steps in there. That's really incredible. Before we dive into more of the UWM stuff, I want to touch a little bit about your personal background. Now, again, we are proud to have you as an alumni. Yeah, we love that. So talk to me a little bit about what was your degree, when did you graduate, and kind of what that was like while you were a student here.
So I graduated almost 25 years ago. So congrats on this beautiful place. I mean, I was coming through and I'm like, we're in the bookstore, the old bookstore.
The old bookstore is now a studio.
So the investment that Walsh has made has been tremendous, and this place is beautiful. So it's really nice to see. But so my unique circumstance where I got married young and started a family young. I was 21. My wife was 19. So I wasn't, I didn't go away to school, nor did we have the resources to kind of go away to school. So I found myself in a place where I was like, I have to go to school locally. I was working full time, during the day and going to school at night. So Walsh was just a very logical solution for where I was at in my life, and it was fantastic because not only did I have a great job during the day, and I was kind of working through the ranks in automotive. I was at an automotive supplier. And learning a lot just through on the job and everything. But Walsh was awesome because I was able to go to school at night. And at night, you're dealing with people in your class that are also kind of in your similar situation, right? Sure. Where they're working during the day, they're grinding away, they're trying to build their life, and you learn not only during the day in your job, but you learn a lot from the people that were in your class. So to me, it was just a all around fantastic experience where I was able to, we were starting a family, so I was able to work during the day and get my, go to school at night. It took me, 6-7 years to get my undergrad,
right.
And I got it in BBA in management at the time. But for me, it was great. Again, I didn't have the luxury of going away, and thankfully, I'd probably still be at school if I went away. But I would have probably gotten stuck there somehow. But honestly, Walsh was fantastic. Everything about it was great. And I still have great relationships from some of the people that I went to school with here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And and I think the relationships, a lot of that comes out of the fact that you are with people who are going through the same things as you. Mm-hmm. Especially because a lot of our students they have a family, they have a work, they have a career going. Yeah. And so to come in and add education in can be an intimidating thing until you find a place that caters to you for that need. So
totally
that's great that you had that experience. So you worked with automotive supplier,
yep.
And now you're in mortgages. How do those two things find each other?
Yeah, it's great. God works in mysterious ways, I guess. But when I was in automotive, I kind of went through the ranks at different at Takata. I was at Takata Corporation for quite a while, for about 8 years, and I had left Takata and went to go run a small family business. I was hired as a non-family member to go run this family business that was it was almost like a turnaround situation where they were around for a long time, and I just got this opportunity to go in there and help turn things around and build the business back up, which I really enjoyed doing. Hey,
what a unique experience.
Culture, creating culture, mm-hmm. Creating goals, objectives, treating people well, creating that whole thing. And it's amazing what businesses can do when you just simply care about people.
Sure.
And I don't care how sophisticated presentations are with companies. Most people underestimate how important it is to just care about people. And how much success can come from that. So, but through that journey, through this smaller business I was at, called the Whitlam Group, which is here in Southeast Michigan, I ended up joining a group called YPO, Young Presidents Organization, which is a global network of basically, I'll say, young executives where you're either a president, a CEO, or an owner of a company. And the company has to be a certain size and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So I qualified for that, and I joined YPO. And when I was in YPO, I met Matt Ishbia. Matt was in YPO, and I was running my business, and he was running UWM, and UWM was much smaller back then.
Yeah.
But we shared a lot of same philosophies and thoughts and ideas about people, and a lot of things I just said: people, culture, how to build businesses the right way.
Right.
And ultimately, he was like, "Man, we should probably do something together." And I was like, "I'm in," because I had gotten to know him. And what drives him, and that guy is, I owe so much of my success to just how he's pushed me to be the better version of myself,
right?
And doing so many great things for so many people along the way, and he's been fantastic. And obviously, he's done a lot of great things in his own way.
Yeah.
But for us, we're still very fundamental on how we run the business. Yeah. He's first guy in, last guy out mentality. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of how we built our business. So even though we've had a lot of success, we're still holding doors open for people. We're still saying hello. We're still there every single day, working and grinding a way to try to take care of, our people and our families, and ultimately, obviously, our consumers and shareholders and stuff like that.
For sure.
But we still run it, although we've gotten very big, we still run it like a very, more like a boutique business.
Yeah.
And that's, we stick to our roots of how we do things.
Yeah. Well, and this kind of goes back to what we talked about earlier. to be relationship based, it goes beyond your B2B. Your internal people, if you can take care of your people will take care of you.
Absolutely.
And so we can definitely do that. And so it's great that the UWM has built the foundation around those relationships, not only externally, but internally, to be able to grow into that next thing. So that takes us on to the next thing, going public. So that had to be a massive change in just the weight of what was happening. So talk to me a little bit about what did that process look like, and you don't have to go into the details because we can talk about that later. But what did that change culturally, and what did it do for your internal people?
It's interesting. I mean, the decision to go public, right? There's pros and cons to everything when you're thinking about something. There's like, hey, there's a benefit to being private, and there's a benefit to being public, right? And I think when we took a step back, we thought about the company strategically, because we are getting to a size where, when you're doing, $2-3 billion a month in mortgages, it's one thing. When you start doing 10, 15, 20 billion a month, it's a whole different level of capital structure and things of that nature, where when we looked at the business strategically, the couple things that really came to mind was, we want to make sure that we have great access to capital markets. We got to have great access to markets to be able to have the capital, the liquidity to run a business of that size that we had created. But the flip side is, we wanted to also make sure that we weren't going to change who we were.
Right.
And that's where I think a lot of companies change, frankly, where it's like, hey, they feel the pressure of being this public company, where they're trying to manage their business to the month or to the quarter, to the year, where frankly, we were never going to change the way that what got us here, we believed is what was going to get us there.
Yeah, don't fix what ain't broken.
Right, we're not going to change how we do things. And Matt and the leadership team, everybody was very bought into that mentality of like, hey guys, like, we're going to continue to do what we do, and nobody in the market's going to change how we do things. So, if you look at the market today, like, a lot of people are laying off. Right. Well, we hired 1,000 people just since the beginning of this year, just a couple months ago.
Which is crazy when you look at the global news on mortgages in the mortgage industry as a whole. So how is it that UWM is being positioned to hire so many in a space where the media is covering it regularly, that's not how the industry is going?
Well, it kind of goes to like what I just said of like, hey, we're not going to change who we are. So Matt has always been very big on commitment to investment in our people, training and development. So we know, Jay, if we hire you today, like, it's going to take you a while, because we're not hiring people that have a lot of mortgage experience, right? Sure. We're hiring, to hire 1,000 people, you're hiring all different backgrounds, people from the Apple Store, Starbucks, your nearest restaurant. Like, we look at it, if I go to a restaurant, I get great service from somebody, I'm like, hey,
what are you doing?
What are you doing? Are you looking for? And honestly, these are like real life examples of how we love to hire people.
For sure.
So through that process, we know that we're going to have to train, develop, and it's going to take, Eric, it'll take you 6 months to kind of get ingrained in how we do things and learn. So we're investing in the future of the business, and a lot of companies don't do that. They're like, hey, oh my gosh, like, our business is down, we have to cut a bunch of people. We've never had a layoff at our company. Almost 40 years of different cycles.
Which in the mortgage industry is unheard of.
Right. And I know your background a little bit.
I came out of that a little bit. And it's a terrifying place to be. It's an industry that's very hard. And so that's crazy that you guys haven't had to go through that. I haven't had to go through the layoff part of it. So I'm going to,
go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm going to ask Eric a question as well, because I think that you kind of have the background on the Walsh side when we talk about, when we talk about our students and setting up our alumni for success in the future, when we hear what Alex is saying about, we are looking for people that are out in the wild, for instance, right? Like, if I go to Starbucks, I have a good interaction, we hire those people. Talk to me a little bit about what Walsh is doing to build those people as they're here.
Sure. We have a number of different programs, as I'm sure most people know, here at Walsh, but really in the career services end, I can speak mostly on that. We work with our students and alumni on professional development skills, helping them with their resumes, their interviewing, getting them ready and prepared to get out there in the workforce. We have a number of different hiring events that we host here at the campus. We have career fairs spread out throughout the calendar year that we have businesses come in and recruit our students. So a lot of what you're saying, we're working through that with the students. We have students that are going through similar, experiences and are looking to make that change. So it's definitely speaking a lot to what we're already doing here at the college.
For sure. I had an interesting interview a couple weeks ago with a CPA, and he was the one that he calls it out, and he goes, look, I am not your typical CPA. He's an extrovert. He's loud. He's fun. And he's like, that's what got me my job. He goes, I'm good at this stuff and I can do all the CPA stuff and I'm very good at that. He's like, But if you can also look somebody in the eye, have a conversation with them, it sets them up for so much success going forward. And I would imagine that's what you're running into. If you're recruiting people from random situations, I'm sure that's the things that are standing out to you.
Absolutely. It's like that grit, that grind. It's interesting. Like, people look at our company now, and we've built a great business. We're the largest mortgage company in America now. So if you think about the competitive landscape, JP Morgan, Bank of America, obviously people like Rocket Mortgage,
right.
Like, we've passed all these guys up. Like, we've passed all these companies up to be number one. And people look at that today and say, oh, wow, that's a great story. You guys are successful. But they don't realize that 10 years ago that I mentioned,
right.
Like, they don't know that we're going to the office at 3:30 in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, grinding away,
right.
Staying late, and not just leadership. I mean, a lot of our people were grinding away. We have people that have been in the company 10, 15, 20 plus years that were part of it when UWM was very small and helped us grow to where we are today. So I think a lot of what I love about Walsh, students and even the alumni that we work with, is they have that grit. They have that because, again, we'll always say, like, we can't compete with a JP Morgan. They're hiring, maybe the best and the brightest of all these different schools, and like, that's fine, and that's cool. They can do that, but I would prefer, hard work, work ethic and attitude over just what the degree says,
Sure.
and what the school is. So that's just kind of how we built our business. So I love the hard work and the attitude. I'll take that all day long versus,
Absolutely.
Somebody who, whatever, went to an Ivy League and
right.
they come in and, they have this certain
Yeah.
expectation. So we prefer, and the reason UWM is great for people is you can get in at the ground floor, and kind of build your way,
Right.
your way through the company. You want to be in IT, great. We have a lot of things in IT. You want to be in underwriting, awesome. Like, whatever path you choose, you can be very successful. I mean, our IT group has over 1,700 people now.
Holy
Man.
cow.
So I mean, that's a massive IT company
Yeah.
within a company.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have so many people in these different areas of the business. Where you mentioned us going public, like our finance and accounting team now is a very sophisticated team,
yeah.
a lot different than we maybe were, 5 years ago, right? There's just a different level of sophistication.
Right.
And a lot of the people on that team are from Walsh.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So we love, again, recruiting from Walsh and all the great things that we've done together. But again, I just view it as like, we're just a boutique company that really works really hard, tries to take care of our people the best we can, and partners with our clients. And we're relentless about making sure our clients are taken care of.
For sure. And I think the other thing too, and I want you to talk about this because it's something that you hear a lot from those who don't understand how the mortgage industry works. And I think the thing that's important for a company like UWM, as big as you are, is you don't go in and not everybody is a processor. Not everybody is a post-closing specialist. When you talk about an IT team the size of 1,700 people, and you talk about the finance people, and you talk about, the pool purchasers, and you talk about like the vast number and wide area of different types of jobs is huge. Mm-hmm. Talk to me a little bit about what is, you guys have a hiring event coming up. Mm-hmm. What does that look like? What kind of things are you looking to fill?
Yeah, I mean, we have needs across the company, but I think our immediate need right now that we're trying to get for is underwriters on our underwriting team. Where on our underwriting team, we want to, degreed people, or people who are like getting close to getting their degree.
For sure.
And it's a great job. It's a job that first year compensation is about $75,000. So it's like, hey, if you're just graduating or you want a different little bit of a career change, these are great opportunities to come in, and you can do that job for a year or two.
Yeah.
And then you can move into IT. We have just so many different opportunities where I always tell people, like, if you just get in within our four walls, you can make a lot of great things happen.
Absolutely.
And we're a company that provides great flexibility and wanting to change and do different things.
For sure.
But that our immediate need right now is more underwriting, which is perfect for the Walsh type.
Yeah, well, because underwriting is not as easy as it sounds. It is. I mean, because ultimately you're the go ahead decision. Yep. You're the green light giver, and it's the level of detail that has to take place. I can see why you'd want that degreed person, because it takes that level of focus to be able to make sure that what you're putting through and what you're saying, yeah, go ahead, is something that is actually valuable and going to pay off in the end.
Yeah, agreed. And we've seen it over and over again where the people at our company that have a good underwriting background, they make great salespeople, they make great IT people, because they understand what goes into the loan. Again, that underwriter's making the decision on whether we're going to loan somebody, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 or $1 million, whatever it may be. Right. They're making that decision. So the ability to understand all those different complex things that go into that loan really makes you a much better whatever it may be.
Well, in different loan products. I mean, because you start talking about jumbo loan products and you have a whole different level of detail you got to really pay attention to.
Investment products, jumbo products, obviously just, ARMs, buy down products. There's so many different things that go into it. It's a great opportunity for people.
For sure.
Part of what we're working on with UWM here over the next couple of weeks, we have a lunch and learn event scheduled with these guys on Wednesday, April 10th. So, Alex, if you don't mind, could you talk a little bit about what the lunch and learn is about and why maybe some of our students or alums should tune in for this?
Yeah, look, I think it's just a better peek behind the curtain, right? I mean, people want to know, like, hey, what is it really like to work at UWM? What are some of the different things that you guys do? We can dive further into, going public. I think people like that only because it's like a case study. And people like to understand, like, hey, what was the thought process? Because when we went through that, just to be clear, like, none of us had done that before. And we ended up being the largest SPAC IPO in U.S. history at the time.
That's crazy.
And that's the kind of thing where we look at it, and I think it's a great representation of who we are as a company, that no matter what it is, you can figure it out. If you get the right team around you and the yes mentality, the work ethic, the disciplines, and the collaboration, you can accomplish anything. So I think people will realize that when they come, when they hear more of a lunch and learn or come on site and see our facility and see the way that we do things, that's really the inspiration. You can always leave and people can always go make more money. You can always do this or do that. But the reality is, like, having that 7,000 people, it's 2 million square feet on 200 acres, right? So, having a campus like that where you have a lot of great work ethic, the grit, the yes mentality, the great culture, like, people thrive on that, and we don't have work from home. Right. And these are things that, we believe that we're better together. We believe that teams that practice together, play together, win together.
Yeah.
Imagine, like, my son plays baseball, imagine if his coach is like, hey, you guys just kind of all practice on your own this week. And, we'll kind of meet on Saturday and we'll play and we hope you're all prepared. No, but it's like, we're working together,
great analogy.
all day long. And it's part of the reason we've been able to, surpass everybody. In this business that we're in, that's one reason, right? But like having everybody, at the campus working hard and grinding away, like that's what we believe is a massive competitive advantage to how we do things. And I think people will see that, and through the lunch and learn and other activities. So.
Yeah, thank you so much. You mentioned other activities. We also have an event coming up with UWM where our students and alumni or general public, anybody that's interested, on the 15th of April, which is a Monday, we'll be having some folks out on campus at their location from 5 to 7 p.m. For some tours and just to get a little bit more insight on the beautiful facility that you do have. One of your executives, Blago, who's sitting behind camera right now, he had taken me on a tour not too long ago. And if you don't mind, just talk a little bit more about the environment there. One of the things that I thought was cool was how you have different rooms named after cities in Michigan. And I thought that was interesting. So if you don't mind kind of giving more insight there.
Yeah, well, obviously, like, we want to create that environment, right? And I think these days, because of all the work from home and post-COVID stuff, even before that, but even obviously more because of that, like, if you're going to have everybody there, you have to create an environment that's special. So if you think about, we make it a ton of investment in the facility. We have doctors' offices, full-time primary care physicians on staff all the time. We have chiropractic. We have hair salons. We have amazing cafeterias and foods. We have basketball court. We have an amazing gym. When people are off for the day, they come to our gym to work out. Like that's where they go because it's an amazing gym and it's free, right? You don't have to pay for this stuff. So it's just part of that environment. And we have all the different types of these intramural sports leagues and, basketball tournaments and slam dunk contests. And we have all different kinds of things that go on to make that environment, really fun and exciting. And I think that's cool when you see, people in a kickball tournament, right? Or whatever, or playing pickleball. It's like, okay, that kickball team is, it's made up of IT people, sales team, marketing team, closers, underwriters.
Right.
That creates the bond, that creates the camaraderie. And you just you can't do that stuff if you're not in the same building.
Yeah.
It's so different if you're not together. So we believe that, again, it's a massive competitive advantage from a market perspective, but also just from a people perspective. it's just nice to be together.
Yeah. Well,
It's
there's
nice
very
to be
few
together.
companies that can pull that off to say like, I'm going to create an environment that is so strong that on your day off, you still want to come here and be here. And we still want to be part of this. And it's hats off to you guys. Cause that's a very difficult thing to do.
And so close. I mean, you guys are
yeah.
10, 15 minutes away from campus here. So it's such a nice local, option. That's awesome.
And we love it too, because even when, post COVID, when everybody was like kind of making that decision on, hey, do I want to go back to in the office? What we realized through the process is the people who really want to, be in that environment are perfect. That's we knew we were going to probably lose some people along the way, and that's perfectly fine. But what we realized through that process is the people who are here really, really want to be here. And those are the people, because we'd get pushback and say, well, hey, if I'm an underwriter, for example,
Right.
like if I just have to underwrite X amount of loans, can I just do that, at home or wherever I am? And yes, the answer is yes, you could. But if you're really good at what you do, what about leading and coaching the person sitting next to you? What about helping them become, somebody who can get to your level, whether it's, underwriting or accounting or capital markets in my world, like sitting next to each other and coaching each other and helping each other and being a teammate, that's the stuff you lose when you're not together. So again, huge advantage to what we have going on. And I think our people, I know our people who are there at our building love it.
Yeah. Well, and that's such a great hiring initiative as well, is you're looking for the people who can bring the next group of people. Mm-hmm. And that's such a huge thing when it comes to hiring the right person. Because again, it's not necessarily that you have a mortgage background, but if you have the personality and the desire to go into that next level and you can train the next level, it's massively important to everything you're doing.
Yeah, and I think structure is important. I think so. It's interesting. So my daughter Ava, who's 21, she graduated college, and she's gonna just graduated, but she's gonna come and do an internship, at the company in the summertime. And one of the things that what she loved about it, obviously she hears enough about UWM, right? So she knows a lot of the positive stuff, but she was really looking for structure. Right. She has a little side business that she does right now, but she's like, Dad, I kind of want to feel what that structure looks like, where it's like, hey, I know I'm going to be working with great people. I know I'm going to be challenged. I'm going to have goals, but I know I can come in, grind for 8 hours, do what I got to do, and leave, and know that I can, have a great life after, after when I think when you're working from home sometimes, and that you kind of lose structure. And we were talking about that a little bit earlier. So, I think that's another benefit of like having, good structure, great people to work with. You're kind of, you're doing your thing, and then you can go after your 8 hours and go enjoy your life.
Yeah.
So
it's nice to have a disconnect point.
Yep.
So you can be like, okay, I'm done with that. Now I can go do these things.
It's a good way to put it.
For sure.
That's great. One last question I have for you, Alex, is, a lot of our new graduates, or maybe even some career changers that we have as students and alumni, what would be some advice that you would give those folks kind of fresh out of school, or those that, again, are looking to make a change in their career?
Yeah, I would say you got to look for opportunity, right? I think companies that are going to provide you some opportunity, some flexibility to really showcase what your talents are and put you in a position to be the best version of yourself and be successful, that's who I would naturally gravitate to. And I think companies like UWM obviously create that kind of opportunity. I would also say patience. I see a lot of the young generation, of recent graduates like, hey, how do I become that executive, right, real quick? I want to make a lot of money, which there are ways to do that maybe, but I think that, generally things take time, and you have to, it takes a while to, bake a cake in the oven. Right. There's a reason why it takes time. And I think people need to be with companies that are going to, give them opportunity, but also put them on a path where things can be done in the right way and the right timing. That's a lot, some of the advice I'd give people. That's
and somebody that's been around, a company that's been around for 40 years has gone through how to do that the right way.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot to be said for startup companies, but when you have somebody with a history of doing the things that you want to do and preparing their students, in many ways, they're students to you guys as well, is getting them into the next level. And if you have a history of doing that already, that's where you go. And if you're a student or somebody from the public looking for a new career change or making that leap, a company like UWM just makes the most sense.
Yeah, and we love to promote from within. Again, I mentioned we hired 1,000 people in the past couple of months, but we promoted well over 1,000 people last year at our company, probably well over 2,000 people. Wow. So people are looking at like, hey, I can come in, I can then become a team lead, then I can, become a senior team lead, then I can become a vice president of the company at some, like these are opportunities, that we provide people, and we have hundreds, thousands of examples of people who have done it, and many of them, being Walsh alumni, like Blago back there. So
we're going to get him on here next time.
Yeah.
That's so awesome that you talk about the training and development that you do with your team. I mean, I think that speaks volumes. There's not a ton of companies that put in the time that you're mentioning that you all do. And I think that in itself is an exciting, benefit to going to work with you guys. So thank you for sharing all that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah.
We see the benefit of it. It's a win-win. Honestly, we win, the people win, the families win. And then also I mentioned families, but I mean, obviously it's a family. We run it like a family business. It is a family business. And the reality is, like, you look at the fair that we do, in the summertime, we have 20,000 plus people that are at our fair. Like, these are big commitments that you mentioned, like things that are going on in mortgage.
Yeah.
Like, nobody's having fairs anymore.
No.
Like, nobody's having holiday parties.
No.
Nobody's having, Halloween parties for bringing in all your kids. Like, we still are fully committed to doing all these things because we recognize the importance of family and people, and, knowing that my wife loves where I work and my kids see where I work, and, somebody else's spouse or significant others see that. Like, that's a big part of it. It's a really, really big part of it.
For sure.
And that's why we continue to, invest and commit to all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So,
well, we appreciate it. And Alex, I appreciate not only your time with us, but UWM's, their impact in Southeast Michigan and so far beyond that. But, when you say that you have 7,000 people you've hired from right here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a massive, huge impact into what Southeast Michigan has to offer, and what you guys have done for the state, and what you guys have now moved into doing for the country. And it's great to see you up near the top making some decisions and coming out of the Walsh ecosystem. So, Alex, I really appreciate your time today and everything that you've done for us. And I look forward to the partnership growing as we move forward, and everything that is to come.
I appreciate you and everything that you've done here too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alex.
Thanks, Eric.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, Jay.